Hi everyone, I am going over Module 4 for Database Administration. I'll be walking through creating a database as well as creating a table, a primary key, a couple of columns, inserting some rows of data in the new table, as well as backing up, dropping, and restoring the database. We will also be creating a new user that will be logging in with a new SQL Server session. So let's begin. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to select the server that we'll be creating this database in, selecting the query. And I'm just going to start off by making a comment. So I'm going to type in dash dash, and this is going to be called creating a database. And I'm going to enter a couple of lines below that and start typing in our command, which is create space database space. We're calling this database company database, and make sure that you capital IC, capital SD. I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to select execute. It says command completed successfully. Very good. So when I refresh, I should see in the drop-down list of databases, there we go, there's our company database name. So now I'm going to go back to our SQL query window, drop down a couple of lines, and I'm going to type in use company database. Highlight that and select execute. And now you'll see up here on the top left-hand corner where it lists the database, it should have changed from master to company database. That means anything that we type into this SQL query, we're going to be executing it towards the command database. All right, now let's go ahead and start creating that table. So I'm going to enter down a couple of lines, and I'm going to start a comment and call this create a table. Enter, enter, and then I'm going to start the commands for creating the table. And to do that, you're going to type in create table. We're going to name this table customers. And then I hit enter, parenthesis, we're going to start our columns. So our first column is going to be customer ID, and it's going to be an integer value. So I'm going to type that int, and it's also going to be our primary key. So I'm going to type in primary key, and then comma, enter, and then now we're going to start typing in the other column names. So our first column name is going to be last name, and this one's going to probably vary from characters to numbers, so we're just going to put in varchar. And then parenthesis, we're going to allow 50 characters, so we're going to type in 50. Space not null, and not null means that this particular field cannot be empty, comma, and our next column is going to be called first name. Again, the same thing, varchar, parenthesis 50, not null. And then we're going to close up that parenthesis because that's going to be our last column for this particular table. Next, we're going to go ahead and highlight this create table statement, and we're going to hit execute. And it should say commands completed successfully, and you can double check by refreshing the Object Explorer window and then hitting the plus arrow, the plus option next to the database name, and then select the plus option next to tables, and that'll expand the view, and you should see dbo.customers, and this is your first table that you had created. Now if you select the plus button there and then select the plus button next to columns, it should list the columns here where you'll see customer ID is the primary key. and then last name and first name is also available. Okay, now we're going to insert a couple rows of data. So I'm going to add a comment here. So -- space add data. And then right underneath that is when I'm going to start typing in the syntax to insert data. So to begin, we're going to typing in insert into, and then we got to type out the database name. I'm sorry, the table name where we're going to be inserting this data into, and that's customers. I'm going to hit enter to the next line where we're going to type in values, and then hit enter again. And this is where we're going to type out our values. And you're going to start out by using the first parenthesis bracket. And if you notice, our first column was customer ID, and it's with integers, so we're just going to type in 1, 2, 3, and then a comma. Because it's integer, you don't have to put these values in quotation marks, but for text you will. So after the comma, and we're going to be typing in for the last name, we're going to start with that quote mark, and then the last name is going to be Doe, end quote, comma, and then quote, Jane, end quote, and parenthesis. Then I'm going to hit comma to enter in the next set of values. And it will be something similar to, let's say 1, 2, 4, comma, quote. We'll call this Jones, quote, comma, Bob, quote, and then end parenthesis. And those will be our values. Then we're going to highlight this. We're going to select execute. It's to say 2 rows affected. Now we're going to look at that table real quick. And to look at the table, we're going to type out select star from. We're going to type in the table name, which is customers. Highlight that and select execute. And that should give you the values that you had inserted into the customer tables. I'm going to end this video here, and we'll continue back to a part 2 where we're going to go over the backup database, dropping the database, and restoring it.